Bassem Mahna was in his home with his 2 sons on Friday morning when armed men stormed into his house.
We refused to evacuate our homes. It was my family, my cousin and I. They entered the house and killed my cousin and 2 other families. They raided our house and threatened to behead us. They looted everything, money and cars.
Hundreds of people were killed here in Syria's coastal area last week and over the weekend, with some death counts exceeding 1,400. Analysts say many of the killings were acts of revenge for the abuses of dictator Bashar al-Assad's regime, which collapsed in early December. Many of the victims were Alawite, the religious sect of former regime leaders, but not necessarily abusers themselves. Analysts say the fighting was initially provoked by pro-Assad attackers who also committed mass killings.
A lid was, I think, quite surprisingly put on a boiling pot on December the 8th. And if anything, it's amazing that it took this long for something to trigger all of those worst sentiments and instincts.
He says that minority leaders, including Alawites, have called on the interim government to deliver justice. Since the assaults, thousands of people have been hiding in this base owned by Russia, which is still viewed as a protector by many Alawites, as Moscow was allied with the former regime. But regional leaders say the area is recovering.
The security situation is much better since the arrival of the security forces and the departure of the armed groups.
But the humanitarian crisis in Syria continues to deepen, according to Lister, and widespread poverty is fueling insecurity.
I think people forget that the humanitarian crisis while Assad was in place in December last year was as bad as it's ever been in Syria after 14 years. But it has continued to worsen since Assad left.
He says international economic sanctions need to be further lifted to allow the government to pay salaries and provide the humanitarian aid that would stabilize the country. Mahna agrees, saying a lasting peace will only follow economic growth.
A peaceful solution is best for Syria's future, but it must come with an economic solution for the people.
Syria's interim president, Ahmed al-Sharaa, has said his government will punish all perpetrators of the recent violence, even if some of them are among his supporters. Heather Murdock in Istanbul with our team in Syria, VOA News.